One summer, several years ago, I get up early as I normally do, but I'd get dressed, get my bike gear on, make some tea, get it in my thermos, pack up a notebook. I'd write a quote that I wanted to reflect on because that really stimulates me, and I love writing that way. I put that in my panniers, put a blanket or a small beach chair in the panniers, and I'd cycle down 18 kilometers to the lake, to Lake Erie. There'd be nobody there. It was like my beach. And I would sit there at the edge of the lake and write. And one of the great joys of that experience was that sometimes I would close my eyes and listen to the rhythm of the waves. And I'd listen for when a wave would come from the left, and as it moved along the shoreline, there was a point, just one moment, when it was right in the middle and both ears could hear equally, and I'd listen for it to go down to the right, down the shoreline, down the end of the lake, and then the next one would come through. And sometimes there were obviously two waves happening at the same time. And there's a rhythm to those waves. It's not march-like. You can't march to those waves, but there is a rhythm, and there is an ebb and a flow. When I go to BC, my mom lives by the ocean. I go walking every morning, and you can see the tide coming in or out. But early in the morning when the water is calm, sometimes it's hard to tell, really, it's going so slowly. It's hard to tell, has it just hit the high point? Is it just coming up? Has it started to go back? And if you watch carefully, and for a moment, it doesn't take long to figure that out. But it is an exquisite experience to watch that ebb and that flow. And to know, I don't know about you with full moons, whether they affect you. Sometimes I have trouble sleeping. But this ebb and flow happens with everything. And we recognize it with the moon. We recognize it with the sun. There's night and there's day. We recognize that ebb and flow in our energy. Sometimes we have more energy and less. I may have noticed this summer there were a pile of planets that were retrograde, and for me it was a very slow but very spacious time. So there was a lot of time this summer, and then things shifted. And so part of the life in recognizing and living with these patterns is to pay attention to them. The larger planets like the Neptune and Pluto and Uranus, we don't notice those cycles so much, but we do notice the moon, we notice Venus, we can certainly notice Mercury, and Mercury is going retrograde on Friday, really Friday night in the Eastern time zone, and it'll be there until the beginning of December. And so this is another ebb and flow time. Mercury retrograde happens about 3 times a year for a couple of weeks, shorter or longer. And it's a slowing down. Now the planet doesn't actually start, going backwards, but the energy, it has an appearance of going backwards, of slowing down. And the effect for us is a slowing down, and it's an inner time. Those times you wish you could get off the bus or get off the world and have the world stop and get off. This is one of those times, and it's a time to look forward to. For me, I love it when this happens because it allows the crazy, busy, fast stuff to slow down and gives me time to finish up. And so if we can be conscious of these, it's great to be conscious of these energies and these cycles so that you can take advantage of them and not be run by them. So this is a time between now and the beginning of December where you can finish projects up. You can dot the I's and cross the T's. You can find those knitting and creative projects and finish up. You can reconnect with people. I'd sit down and have tea. It's perfect tea time. So Mercury retrograde, Mercury is the planet that rules connections and communications. So sometimes some of the things that may slow down or go awry could be anything that has to do with connections. So timetables, airplanes, luggage getting lost in that world. You might, computer problems, messages get misinterpreted. You might not be clear in your communications. Someone may be overbooking, double booking, forgetting, completely showing up on the wrong day, completely showing up twice in the same day. And this happens for you as well. So it's a great time to really double check your appointments, double check your commitments. It's a great time to review, to redo, to reconnect, to reflect, and take some inner time. It's a time to journal. It's time to think back over the past. What have you kind of collected? What are we learning? What can you take from it? And um, and relax a little bit. Don't push the rope. There'll be time for that in December. So if you're feeling like, so this is the time, for one thing, I have virtual tea times. And I set up times to talk with you. If you'd like to get in touch with me, and we can just sit down and have a chat. And I do this with clients. I do this with friends. I make a point of getting together for tea and for lunch, for whatever it is, for games. If anyone wants to play bananagrams, give me a call. It's that kind of time. It's an inner time. It's a hygge time, in a way. It's the Danish call quiet, comfy time. It's a really special time, and you get to have it before crazy Christmas time and holiday time. So November 16th, 17th, it kind of kicks in. You've probably noticed things have slowed down. You may have been noticing some misfiring in communications already. This tends to happen. And then after December, to beginning of December, for the couple of weeks after, it's a shadow coming out. So it's like, we've slowed down. We're going into Mercury Retrograde. It'll stay there. And then there's a shadow time where it speeds back up again. And then we're off. And it comes back again in 2019. So Mercury Retrograde this Friday. Have it. Good time with it.